Hello and welcome to my art studio on wheels. My name is Chrissy and I'm an illustrator and graphic designer from Germany. Today I'm coloring another page from Hanna Karlzon's book Tales of the Forest Kingdom, and I am using distress ink, colored pencil and acrylics. Let's go! A long time I did not color anything in the Tales from the Forest Kingdom, and today I'm looking forward to a very nice picture which I wanted always to color, but I never had time for it. I'm using my iPad as well to make a color study, and here we go. This is the picture. I love this picture very much. It has a lot of potential, but I wanted to change the head of the mouse, similar to an animal which I already drew. First of all, I'm taping the edges so that I protect the page next to it. And I'm using a Uniball Signo broad white. I'm doing this actually to cover the lines, to cover the face. Now I would change it. I would not do it like this. That was a wrong decision because when you color over it you will always see it. Actually, you will always see it when you color over it with colored pencils. That's why later on I used acrylics. Now I started to add some details because I thought it would be so cute when there would be one frog sitting on a leaf and watching the whole scene, and if a moon has fallen into the water, because the stars already fell into the water, which is such a cute idea. And I also drew the face new, and now I started with distress ink. But first I made a color study. To me it's always important to do a color study so I can play with the light sources. This is actually, I built up every picture from light sources. This is the most important part. And you see we have two white light sources, the star and the moon. And we have a yellow light source which comes from the candle. Here's the frog. Actually, in the beginning I wanted to have several frogs. And now you see the moonlight is touching each and everything. Once I was ready, I started with the first layer, distress ink blue. With this you have to be a little bit careful, not just press too hard, because then you might have a too hard impact on the page, too dark impact, and you might have some spots which you cannot get rid of anymore. Once you put distress ink you cannot rub it off anymore. But this is giving a very nice blue layer because everything anyway appears in the night like blue. I will as well use distress ink in the end of the picture, which is giving it always a nice touch. It's giving it a little bit like a night touch. To let the mushrooms pop, the background of the mushrooms should be a little bit darker. For the black I used Faber-Castell Pit Graphite Matte, but I would not use it anymore because I thought it was a little bit deeper black, and next time I will prefer again Prismacolor black or Polychromos black. Actually, that's the reason why the color study always looks a little bit better than the photo in the than the coloring in the end, because in the computer obviously you have much more intense colors than you can have with colored pencils. I make the shadows even darker so that the mushrooms pop. And as you see, I'm thinking everything from the light source. So I'm always thinking of the moon while I'm drawing this. I'm only thinking about shadow and light in the moment. The shadows I'm doing in blue because in the night the most shadows are blue because of the moonlight. Here you see that I try to use a white pen to make the surrounding of the star brighter, but it had no effect whatsoever. So this I have to do with acrylics actually. And also with another pen which I show you later. Now I'm starting with the lizard, and again I'm thinking from the shadows. I'm blocking in the yellow parts. This is not the actual yellow which will be in the end the real shine of the lamp, but for myself I just draw these parts yellow so I know where's the candlelight. Now I'm choosing a darker green to color in the shadows of the ribbon, and also a darker blue again to see which shadows is the animal making on the ground. I am using black as well to show the shadows, and then I am coloring the green parts of the lizard as well blue because it's night, so it has always to have a little bit blue shine. Again, I am coloring in the candlelight, and it's very nice because the mouse and the lizard are touched by the yellow light from one side and from the white light from the other side. That's making a quite good effect. This is the moment where I realize that I have difficulties to color over the yellow pen, over the white pen, and where I realize that I have to use acrylics. Again, you see that I'm thinking from the light source, so the parts I leave free, I will make whether yellow or white later. All the free parts are touched by the light. Ah yeah, in this case it is touched by the candlelight, so yellow. I always like to use the black because it's making everything pop more and giving it much more structure and detail. So all parts which are not facing the light source are in shadow, so black. I know the yellow is not bright at all, it's just seen as a placeholder. Later on I will make a much brighter yellow. And now the ribbon should be brown and the bright parts should be blue because it's night light, and black as well to give it more depth. And I guess this was the moment where I realized that it is very difficult to draw over the white lines. And I was thinking what to do now with this part. So I went back to the candle. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, it's out of the... Ah, okay, here we go. And yeah, this is Distress ink again. And I'm using a nail art pen for that. It's called nail art pen, I have no idea. I got it from Amazon. And then I used some color pencils again. Here I realized that I should use more darker colors to let the white stand out. And that's why I went over everything again with blue, and now again I'm going with the white ball pen. Now you can see the white line much better. This is a Stabilo Woody. I love this pen. Actually, for this picture it was not quite the best thing, but in general it's great because it is actually like a crayon, like a wax crayon. But also when you use a water pen like this, then you can make a watercolor out of it. Here you see now how I liquefy what I first was drawing with the pen. It's becoming watercolor. That's really fascinating. I don't know if you can see it, but the white lines from the white ball pen, which I used beforehand, are shining through, and that didn't come out as I expected it. So the next step will be to paint over it with acrylics. Here you see how rich in pigment the woodies are. This is why I love them so much. See the difference? It's so dark. Yeah, and here I gave up. I used acrylics. Actually, I used a very lousy, cheap acrylic color ochre, and I think I mix it with burnt umber. Now with ochre, I am starting to put light effects, but actually the yellow is much more important. Since my yellow is so cheap, it was really just a very cheap yellow, I used a very costly white to give it much more pigment, and now you see that it's sticking out, popping out. This white is very good. I'm loving it, but it's costly. Unfortunately, it's almost empty. I have to buy it new. Here the white from the woodies. There's only one white. And the yellow from the woodies. Here I took a tiny little bit of red and mixed it into the white for the nose, so that I had a very light pink. And now I have to bring out the features with light and shadow. Oh yeah, for sure the moon has to be much brighter. Sometimes I'm using a fluid retarder, which I really like, because normally when I want to liquefy acrylics, then I used water, but then also the colors lost pigments. It was not that bright anymore, and with this retarder, now I'm making the shiny areas very bright. My yellow placeholder I overpaint now. Now the star, the other light source. Now the mouse becomes more bluish because it's night, and all areas which are shiny I make like blue. So shiny places light blue and shadow places dark blue. And as you see, I'm using a completely random blue, which you find everywhere. This was very cheap, not very good color actually, but it was enough for my purpose. Here I'm using a black ball pen. This is actually the best black pen I know. All other pens, which are much more costly, are not good for my purpose. I don't know why. So this is just the best one. It is just some cent. It costs just some cent. But you can make lighter strokes and harder strokes, darker strokes. So for this, I love it. With this, I'm giving it more definition. Actually, sometimes I try to avoid black lines, but somehow I had feeling black lines had to come back into this drawing to give more definition. Again, I realized this must be darker because in my color study everything was much darker. I didn't realize it. Then I realized it, and then I went again over, third time kind of, over this area. Now going in with black. And now the shine from the star, which is coming from beneath. And also all leaves that have the shine from the yellow lamp get as well a white shine from the moon and from the star. Here you see that the normal color pencil is not able, even if it's a Prismacolor, the pencil is not able to cover up the white lines, which was a little bit frustrating. I decided to solve the problem with acrylics, so I just mixed black and blue. I tried to give it a smooth fade out. Now Mr. Toad. Sorry, my acrylics are so cheap, they don't have even a proper name. So it just says, oh, it says pale green, okay. Yeah, it is pale green. For the leaf, I'm mixing green and yellow. And again, I had the feeling it was not enough rich of pigments, so I added white. My beloved Windsor Newton Titanium White. Now the shadow. And now the sea roses, I guess it's called. And again, all shadows I'm just making with blue. Yeah, there should be some outlines. And now I wanted to give a more shiny effect to the moon, because actually it's a quite strong light source. So I'm using the woody for that, because whenever it is difficult to add white to a picture or any color, because you painted already so much over the picture, then you can use the woodies, because they are like wax crayons, I think it's called. You can paint with this over everything actually. And now I'm adding the night shadow kind of. Again the same blue and the nail art pin. And now you see that I'm adding layer by layer kind of night shadows. It gives all over a bluish touch. And now I'm using black, which is also very good. This is kind of like as if you have a spray gun, airbrush kind of. Obviously not that effective, but it's very nice. I don't know with which pen I would make this effect. There is no pen with which you can do this effect. For me, this is actually the biggest fun, the final touches with distress ink. And here it also helps to make a smooth transition from yellow to black. And here we go. Another thing I really love is to remove this tape. Yeah, and that's it. We are finished. Okay, that was it for today. Thank you for watching, and I would be happy if you share, like or subscribe. Bye bye!